There he is.
There he
is.
bud?
I am good. I'm good. How are you guys? Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, man. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back. Oh, we were
just
talking.
I have to give you guys, before we even start, I have to give you credit on the Tarasenko thing. It happened last week, and I was off social media for a little bit, and then I go on, and there's the emergency episode. Like the way that you guys do that stuff on the fly is amazing. Like it was awesome, and it was a great take that you guys had too. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. You know, it's hard, but you got to do what you got to do. You know. So we had to hop on the mic real quick and readjust our schedules. It was a big deal. What were your thoughts?
We feel like every time we record something, I feel like the next day something big happens with the Rangers, and then like we have to wait a week to talk about it. So something big like this, we felt obligated to try and get something out there as fast as possible.
Yeah, well, great work to you guys. Kudos on that.
Yeah. So Jeff, what are your thoughts on the Tarasenko trade?
I like it a lot. I mean, I think people can't think that they're getting a player that he was 10 years ago because he's not that guy anymore. But I think he fits. He fits what they need. I was more concerned about what they would give up to get anyone than maybe even more than what they were going to bring back. And in this case, they didn't really give up much at all. Obviously, Sammy Blais is not really going to be a loss. I would challenge you guys with the question to post your favorite Sammy Blais goal in the Ranger uniform as your favorite memory. I don't think the Hunter Skinner pick. I mean, he's not Brendan Hoffman. I think we can certainly give him up. And the track record with this organization with draft picks is awful. So I'm done with holding on to draft picks, thinking that they're going to turn into something. So I think all things included, as long as you're not thinking you're getting Tarasenko from 2012, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the only asset they gave up, right, that worries you is that first round pick, and it's probably going to be the last 10 picks of the first round, maybe even like the last 4 if either Dallas or the Rangers get to the conference finals. Both of those teams are top teams in their conference, so I tend to agree. Why not strengthen the roster now? You didn't really give much up. So I mean, after the trade, what kind of holes do you see on the roster right now that you think may be addressed by Drury before the deadline?
Well, I think if anything, really, it's some more fourth line depth. I mean, the name that's been thrown around is Tyler Mott. We know he was good here last year. He fit that role in Gallant's system. It's a little frustrating in the sense that I wanted them to re-sign him specifically in the offseason, and now to go out and get him, you got to give something up. But I think a player like Tyler Mott, I mean, I don't really see them doing a lot. I don't think they're going to bring in another first or second line guy, another top 4 defenseman. I think it's just some depth on the back end, maybe in the fourth line. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll let Little Ed take that.
No, I can't agree with you more. I love Tyler Mott. I was ashamed that they didn't sign him in the offseason. Like you said, now they got to give somebody up. But I said this on episode 92 that I believe the same thing, that Drury's not done. I think he's definitely going to go after that fourth line depth because I don't think that fourth line is exactly where it needs to be come playoff time.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so my thing is a fourth line center I would like more than a winger. I think that the way the roster is set up right now, they got Lecision at the fourth line center. He needs to be a healthy scratch. And they need a more veteran presence there, a guy, I always think back, all Rangers fans go back to 94, right? But like a Craig McTavish, right? Like that, they need a guy like that they could trust, win a draw, defensive, penalty kill. Maybe someone like, and I don't even know, I haven't watched him enough recently, but like a Nick Bukestad or what's his name? Noah Chari on St. Louis. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck putting Barclay Goodrow in that spot. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, if they go with Goodrow at fourth line center, I can see them adding like a Mott on the wing and being happy with that combination as well. So we'll see. I agree. I think that it's going to be depth pieces. So, I mean, looking at, like you said, it wasn't Brendan Hoffman that was included. I mean, what kind of assets do you think Drury would even make available for anything else that they're going to do? I mean, there's rumors they're going to trade Kravtsov, so obviously he's on the table. Other than Kravtsov on the table, I mean, what else do you think they're willing to do? Are they going to move a defense prospect or draft picks only? What do you think?
Well, I mean the Krentzman situation, and I don't even want to ask Coach Ed because I know his feeling on Krentzman. I remember the preseason special I was on with him. Yeah, I mean they don't really have that much they can move. Krentzman obviously is probably going to be moved. I would be fine with them moving Zach Jones. I've never been a Zach Jones guy. I think he's too small for the NHL. I don't really know that he's a big NHL defenseman. But other than that, you're not going to now turn around and give up an asset for someone who's playing on the roster that's doing well as you're about to make a cup run. So I think if you kind of factor that in with the fact that you really don't need to add a lot, you don't have a lot of assets, you're probably going to give something up minor to get, fourth line guy. I don't really think there's a lot they're going to give up.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think we're looking at mid-round picks, and they're probably going to hold mostly everything else. So just get your thoughts on Kravtsov. So he, there's a lot going on with this. The coach isn't playing him. He's saying he's not producing enough, and the chatter is that Kravtsov through his agent went to Drury and said, "Listen, if you're not going to play me, like give me a better opportunity somewhere else." And Drury put him out in that email chat that the GMs have and said, "Anyone interested in Kravtsov, give me a call or whatever." Realistically, what kind of return are the Rangers even looking at if they move him?
Well, first off on him, we had our episode yesterday, and I got hate for my Kravtsov take, and it didn't even come out yet. I mean, so I don't know if it was people watching live yesterday or what. Like, the clips haven't even come out yet. So overall, I mean, here's a guy, he's played in 48 career games, and he has 10 points, right? So Coach Ed looks like a genius because, the stats that he has is not really dictating someone who should be 22 years old or whatever he is demanding a trade. I mean, you haven't really proven yourself to be doing that. But my thoughts on him getting moved, I think at this point you have to. If it's true that he requested a trade again yesterday, that's the second time. Like, I don't know how you dress that player in your uniform again. The guys in the locker room know that. I don't think it's a good fit. And I mean, at this point, he's not going to develop under Gerard Gallant. And if I had to sit here and say, do I want my coach, who had us within 2 games of the Stanley Cup Finals, has been on a 20-4 run the last 2 months, or do I want Vitaly Kravtsov and his 10 points in 48 games? I'm taking the coach. Kravtsov's the odd man out there. So I think you have to move him. I don't think the return is going to be that high. But I also think the longer you hold on to him, the return's going to go down. So to me, I think it's got to be something that's done in the next 2 weeks before the trade deadline.
It's an interesting point about how it affects the locker room that he asked for a trade. I mean, I don't know the full circumstances of it. He hasn't thrown a temper tantrum or stopped working hard or anything like that. But, if he's going quietly to his agent and, saying pretty much like, look, this guy's not going to play me, get me somewhere else. On the one hand, I can understand that, I mean, in our own lives, we do that, right? If I'm working for a place and I feel underappreciated or I'm not getting enough opportunity, I would go seek out other opportunities just like anyone else. So on the one hand, I can understand that, but you're trying to win the Stanley Cup. You need the whole team on the same page. And, even if he's a black ace, that's a little bit concerning. My initial instinct was trade him in the summer if you don't get what you want here, but you make a good point, how it affects the locker room. I mean, I don't know, Little Ed, what do you think on that? How it affects the locker room that he may have asked for a trade?
Well, I'm big on the intangibles. So I think that's a huge thing. It's hard to say, though, because it seems like he's having a lot of fun at practice, all the clips, social media clips you see and everything. So he's obviously never had like a bad look on his face or anything like that. So, I mean, you got to look at it like maybe the players kind of understand at the same time where he does want to go somewhere else. But that's also if they think that he even has the ability to play somewhere else. They might just think he has a lot of work to do also. So I think it's a very good point. And for him to have that attitude, whereas like, why does he could be like that, like you said, the black ace, where as soon as somebody gets hurt, knock on wood, he's most likely going to be entered into the lineup, but that's not good enough for him. And that attitude right there, I don't think is great to have. I'm sure Coach would agree, right, Coach?
I mean, without a doubt. I mean, but his outlook might be he's looking at Laffy came in, he got a position right away. Kako got one right away. He was the number 1 pick, correct?
No, 9th overall.
Yeah.
Right. So he probably feels that little bit of entitlement. I don't know his attitude of his agent. Again, I always go back to the thing: if I'm a player or I'm a player's father, I'm sitting down with the agent going, this is our plan. So for the agent to say something without dealing with the player, I'd be a little shocked. So I have to think that's his attitude too, if that's true. And I don't like it. I personally don't like it. I would bet almost anything that Gallant doesn't like it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear, right, Jeff, that Gallant doesn't like Kravtsov.
Yeah, no, it is. And I was just about to say, during our episode yesterday, someone was writing in our live chat, arguing on Kravtsov's defense about Niels Lundqvist, right? That he now has gone to Dallas and he's playing, top D minutes, and that it's Gallant's fault that he gave up on him. But again, like in this case, where's he going to play right now? This team is right there. It's about to make a push in 2 months. Where are you really going to play Kravtsov right now?
Yeah, you're right.
No,
I said that.
I agree with
sent that clip to you guys saying that Gallant said he's a top 6 forward, and there's just no spot for him on this team. So, just like with Lundqvist, where were you going to put him?
Yep.
Who are you going to sit? Who are you going to sit to put him in the top 4 on D? He wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had a problem with Lundqvist. It was just a matter of
right.
opportunity, time, and place. You can't put him with Schneider. I don't think it's
I mean, to me, he wasn't playing better than Schneider. So how would you move him up and not Schneider? So
right.
It's that same situation where there's just not a spot for him.
The thing with Kravtsov, the little wrinkle, because I would agree, looking at the team right now, the only spot he could possibly fit is third line right wing, and it's just he's being outplayed significantly by Jimmy Vesey for that spot. So it's you're not going to put Vesey on the fourth line to force Kravtsov into the lineup. But when you look ahead and you look at next year, the Rangers are going to be in a cap crunch and they're going to need cheap depth on the wings to start the year, just like they did this year. It may not be the team they end up with next year at the end, but they're going to need somebody to play for $1 million or $900K or something like that. And Kravtsov is going to get a contract like that next year. So my only thinking is, I would just tell him, like, dude, just focus on getting stronger. And if there's an injury, you might draw in, hit the gym. Here's our plan for you. Work out. And then try again next year, because I'm not going to just give him away. That's my concern. Like, you don't just give away a player with his kind of talent when it's clear that he needs a little work. And look, he's at fault. I agree. He's at fault for his delay in development too. It's not just the team. It's both parties. But yeah, I think this, regardless of what I think ultimately, Jeff, you're right, that this is going to be the end here. I don't see Drury not moving Kravtsov at this point. I mean, I think he's gone by the deadline. It's just a matter of what they get back.
And it's frustrating in the sense that in May of 2019, when he came here, he not only was drafted 9th overall, like you said, but a lot of people were rating him at the time as the top prospect outside of North America. So when you hear that, you get excited, like, wow, we got to steal at number 9. And clearly we didn't get the player that we thought.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it remains to be seen what kind of player he'll be. He's got all the talent in the world, but he might not just have what coach would call the mental fortitude, the drive to succeed. It's a little concerning that it's been 5 years since he's been drafted, and he's we're talking about him getting stronger, right? Like we talked about it with Bushnevich, but that was when he was 20, right? Like, oh, Bushnevich needs to get stronger. We talked about it with Kakko, but he hit the gym. He's 21. He's stronger already. So, he's 23. By the time he gets his strength, he's 25. You're outside of a prospect zone now, right? Now you're in like you're fully grown, like at that point. So we'll see what happens.
Not a kid anymore, Joe.
Yeah. So off Kravtsov, off the negative stuff. I mean, do you think looking ahead, this team is pretty much set up with a matchup with the Devils?
I don't want to say it's locked in, but it's certainly looking like it's possible. I don't, if that series happens, all the pressure on the world is on the Rangers, right? Devils weren't even supposed to be there. So the speed game, EJ Raddick was on with us a couple weeks ago and talked exactly, what if they played in the first round? And he said, look, the Devils' speed gives the Rangers fits, as you've seen in the 3 games that they played. Obviously, with the Devils' concern, Hughes week to week, how long is he out? And Vanacek in goal has been really good, but I mean, I don't know that you would bet the mortgage right now he's going to play a full season and do well in the playoffs. He just hasn't really had the chance to. So it would be exciting. I mean, to be around a Ranger Devil series in the tri-state area would be awesome. It's great for hockey, but I don't know that it's a matchup I want. And all the pressure in that series is on the Rangers.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Rangers have the pressure. As far as the matchup, I think we have to see what the teams look like, when we get closer. But I tend to agree the Devils are earlier in the year when we played them, they're relentless on the puck. So the Rangers are going to need to get their legs going that series to beat them. Even though they may have the veterans and the experience now, the Devils are a relentless team. So it's not necessarily a matchup I'm looking forward to either, because forget the chances of winning it. I just don't want to have even remotely lose to the Devils. Like, it's like, oh, everyone wants a Rangers Islanders playoff series. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I do not want a Rangers Islanders playoff series.
No.
I want the Islanders far out of the playoffs and just focus on playing like Toronto or something. I don't know. Little Ed,
That's
what about
hilarious.
you? You want to match up with New Jersey?
I mean, now that you put it that way, not really, because I wouldn't even be able to stand them seeing us winning a single game. So, never mind the series. It's tough. It's real tough. But I'm sticking to my guns. I don't think Jack Hughes is going to be a threat in the playoffs when guys are gunning for him.
Yeah, the Devils' concern, I think, is their lack of physicality. I think the Tom Fitzgerald and the GM over there, that's going to be one thing they're looking at the deadline, because I think Little Ed's right. I mean, Jack Hughes is going to get killed unless they get someone like a Ryan Reeves, a Mike Rupp comes to mind in the past, someone like that on that team. They need to get more physical.
Yeah, they need someone to protect him, or at least be like a guardian, like you said, like Revo was.
Yeah.
You think they're going to go get Timo Meyer or no?
I think it's possible. From what I've heard, I mean, what's been out there, it sounds like they've been trying really hard to. He would fit there in the sense that he's a young player, and it's a team that's maybe not built to win this year. So I think he's a good fit in New Jersey. I just think you need to make sure you have a contract extension signed ahead of time. Obviously, if you're going to make a move like that. But if I'm the Devils and I have a chance to get a player like that with where I am right now and my trajectory as a franchise, I think he's a great fit for the Devils.
Coach, sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying about Hughes?
You're right. I mean, I agree on the Timo Meyer thing. That I've watched highlights of him, and that guy, he's a power forward for sure. He'd be that physical forward I think they need to match with their speed. I just think the Devils, I said it when we had the Devils podcast on, and I just think they're not strong on the back end defensively. I think there's too much of that running gun, and if the Rangers play them and they don't give the puck away cross ice like they did in those couple of games, I think they're a takeable team. I don't think they're a playoff ready team like Eddie said.
Yeah, I would say this to what Coach Ed just said. And I'm not afraid of the Devils. Whoever you play in the playoffs is good, right? It's not like we would ever sit here and be like, oh, I want to play this team in the first round, because you're asking for a kiss of death when you just say that. I mean, I think the Rangers could certainly get past the Devils, but I just would get worried that the pressure on that series is literally, with those two teams, is all on the Rangers.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think it's a good pressure. I think the Rangers excel or do well when they aren't like the favorites, or aren't like we just saw it with the game against Carolina. They had every right to lose that game after a tough week, playing every other night, and they came out and they took care of business. I think they always show up for games like that, so I think they can handle that pressure.
Yeah, so Jeff, the last thing I want to bring up is Artemi Panarin. We talked in our emergency episode about Tarasenko being friends with Panarin, getting him going. So, Panarin connects with him right away. Next game, Gallant, Little Ed said, as a punishment to Panarin, demotes him to the Trocheck VC line, and he scores 4 goals against the team leading our division. So I just kind of want your take on Panarin in 2 aspects. One, do you think he's going to put him back with Tarasenko at some point? I mean, I'm sure he will briefly, because he just changes the lines constantly. But and then 2, do you think that this 4-goal game is maybe a good sign? Forget his stats, but Carolina, a playoff team that maybe this year in the playoffs, Panarin can, excel compared to last year. Because if we have this Artemi Panarin in that game, in the playoffs, I think the Rangers are a much more dangerous team. You're not just going off depth, right? You're going off superstar. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the first question, yeah, I mean, I think he will be back with Tarasenko at some point. I think he's smart enough to know these two people have known each other forever. That's a good familiarity. It's only going to help each other. So I think they'll be back at some point. Overall, with Panarin, I mean, hopefully it gets him going a little bit more with putting the puck in the net. But he's having a great year points-wise. I mean, I think he's been a little bit lackadaisical in the defensive end. He certainly made some pretty bad defensive plays this year. However, I kind of give him a pass when I look at his stats and I see how many assists he has. But hopefully it gets him going. And you're right. If you could get that sort of Artemi Panarin in the playoffs, that is a massive, massive boost to your chances. He was hurt last year. I mean, I don't know if it ever really came out, but it certainly appeared in the playoffs he was hurt. And a lot of people forget about that because all they remember is the Game 7 overtime winner versus Pittsburgh, right? Oh, Artemi Panarin. But if you watch the rest of the playoffs, he wasn't that great. I mean, I do think he was battling some kind of injury. So hopefully, we get the Panarin we saw on Saturday night in Carolina in the spring, and that would be advantageous.
Yeah, didn't he have that injury towards the end of the year? Or was that the year before? He had some kind of like a hamstring injury.
I thought it was like a shoulder.
That was the week where he had the Tom Wilson. Yeah, he had one last year, and then he also had one the year before. The last week of the season was the whole Tom Wilson debacle when he got slammed to the ice.
Well, I think he had a hip injury at one point as well. That's why he stopped doing the kick celebration.
So like it.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, so look, we covered the Calgary game a little bit, but I can't end the interview without at least getting your take on that Jacob Trouba hit on Nazem Kadri.
Well, it's hard to get on it when Kadri came out and give the guy credit, right? He got clock clean like that and comes right out and says it was a clean hit. I got to get up and move on. So, it's weird with Trouba that this is kind of becoming his mantra here in New York is to be the guy that's hitting the opposing player with the head down and all that stuff and firing the team up. I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's good. I mean, obviously we know what happened with the whole helmet throwing episode and where they've been since then in December. But I thought the hit was clean. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I agree. We all agree with that. All right, Jeff. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate your time. Always a great interview. And you can find Jeff's podcast on social media at Mind Your Pucking Business. And you're on live on YouTube, right?
We're live on YouTube on Tuesday mornings, and then we come out on Spotify and iTunes during the week. But the Instagram page as a whole, the last month and a half with the DMs and the questions with the Rangers every day, all day. So people can send us there. But thank you guys for having me. I stream you guys in my car. I have the notification set up on my phone. I don't know what it's called. I'm not very tech savvy, but I have a thing that it comes across when you guys drop a new episode, which usually is like the second half of the week. And I usually
Thursday mornings.
I was going to say, so it'll be tomorrow, which is good because I'll be in the car, not to put pressure on you guys to get it out. But I plug you guys into my Apple CarPlay and my Volvo, and I listen to you guys. I usually have you guys the whole episode done by Friday into the weekend. I love the stuff. Like I know I've told you this. Your banter back and forth is great. You guys are totally insightful. We agree on almost everything, which is funny. We don't really agree, any of you guys, but your stuff is awesome. So keep it up. I feel like you guys are a great voice for Ranger fans. So keep up the good work.
Really appreciate it, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I tune into your show sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I always agree with you guys, and I like that even when you guys do some debating, like you guys get into the hardcore debating, you keep it civil and you're always respectful of the other person's opinion, which makes it a good listen, right? Like I have left some episodes of yours. There was one a couple of weeks ago I remember listening to when I was stuck in traffic actually on the turnpike, where you guys were debating. I forgot what it was, and like I just remember thinking like this is really civil and nice to watch. It reminded me of PTI and ESPN, right, when they're going at it, but it's like you kind of understand the other person's argument, and I love it with you guys because it's always Ranger based, right? I don't need to listen to LeBron James stuff. So keep up the great work. I'll be tuning in as we get closer to playoff series. You guys are awesome with your content, so keep it up.
Yeah, right back at you, Jeff. Sometimes when I'm sitting here working from home, I throw you on YouTube and try and comment and banter with you guys a little bit. I know I've asked a few questions for you on there.
Okay.
And, I listen to your audio later on sometimes as well. So keep
Awesome.
up the good work. And your Instagram is popping too. You throwing up a lot of clips on there. And
Yeah, that's all the production people. That's not me. I give them
nice.
credit on that. And I got to give Coach Ed credit because the last time I was on with you guys and I was pumping up Krentzman, Coach Ed was the one guy who said, no, 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 no. And here we are in my next appearance with him getting shipped out of town. So Coach Ed read that one like a book.
All right, I got one. I got one right.
We'll take it. But in my eyes, you're batting 1,000. So take it. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for the
All right,
food.
Jeff.
Ed.
Thanks for coming on.
Have a good one, man.
Be safe.
All right, that was Jeff Krentzman with Mind Your Pucking.